I am Warren Sprouse, and you are on the Bible Forum. I've got an uplifting message I want to share with you tonight. I want to talk to you about death and dying. No, that's not the uplifting. The question is, when you leave this mortal coil, what is it you're going to leave behind? The standard answer is, of course, everything. But succeeding generations honestly believe it's going to be different for them. In my lifetime, I remember growing up in the 1960s, early 1960s, the message was everybody should go to college. And it sounded like it was good advice. I took it as sound advice. But being old as I am, I look back on it and I say, that was illogical. It was almost irrational. But it was meant to be motivational. Now, I think we all know the cost of a college degree has been artificially expanded simply due to greed on the part of these colleges. And if you don't know that, you're not paying attention to them. And we know that young people have been conditioned to believe the degree will guarantee them a good salary over time. Some actually extend their debt to grad school based merely upon that hope, that promise. Well, if I have an extended degree, I get a master's degree, I get a doctor's degree, I'll make more money. We've got professors in colleges making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, working 10 hours a week for 30 weeks a year, telling you this stuff. It may be a little exaggerated, but not by much. And all of this puts a tremendous strain on young people at a time when they're trying to get started. Fox Business reports the average student is being charged $23,000 a year for in-state tuition, $32,000 if it's an out-of-state school. And they're saying that the average student loan debt for the class of 2017 was over $39,000. I listened to the radio. And I listened to this guy who is helping people get out of debt. And when they tell him what their college debt is, it isn't $39,400. It's $50, $70, $80, $100,000 debt for college. So now it's being reported that some big name companies are announcing that they're going to drop the degree requirements for new employees. The independent journal review.com is telling us this. People who incur these huge amounts of debt are doing it because this is the way of the world. This is what the world is teaching them, and they don't really see another way to have all that they will tell you they need, but really what they want. And credit card companies today will give almost anybody a credit card. Automobile dealers will give almost anyone a car loan. Banks will give anyone with a high credit rating a mortgage or two. I got my second mortgage at age 64 with an annual income of $35,000 a year. That was insane. But I had an 815 credit score. And I was good for it. What most people don't realize or don't care about is that interest rate. Credit card banks make their money off the interest rate. And credit cards and banks are among the wealthiest people in the world. And you aren't. I have a credit card that I use only for repairs to my car, because This credit card gives me free interest for a year on anything related to my automobile, whether it's repair or what. And by that means, I have learned how much it costs to keep my cars running. I have 2 cars. It costs me between $150 and $180 a month to keep these cars on the road. I didn't know that before, but I'm not paying extra for that privilege. The message here is God's message. Live within your means. If you can't pay for it, you don't have it. If your mortgage, taxes, insurance equals more than 30 to 40% of your monthly salary, you don't have one. How hard is that? Well, given the number of people who are in debt, far beyond their means to repay, apparently it is very hard. Why? Because the human heart is selfish. The Bible says it's desperately wicked beyond anything you can imagine, deceitful above all things, and it deceives you before it deceives anybody else. Add to this the fear of the unknown, fear of the future. And what do you have? It is the what ifs that drive people into debt, often into poor health, depression, and worse. But in the end, it's still all about God. Can you trust Him? Well, the answer is yes, He is completely trustworthy. Well, then do as He says. You can't do as He says? Then you can't trust Him, or you don't. And if you can't trust God where your day-to-day life is concerned, how will you ever trust Him for your future? The logic of this argument is basic, but most people will deny that there's a correlation here. So what does the Bible say about debt? Paul said in Romans chapter 3, owe no man anything but to love. Well, yeah, but as long as I make the monthly payment, I don't owe, right? That's true as far as it goes, but only on items that have value. If you're borrowing on depreciating items, it changes the equation. And most credit card debt is unsecured debt. There's no value the loaner can attach. So when your credit becomes bad, then what? Well, then I'll get a co-signer. But the Bible tells us not to do that. Proverbs 22. No, do not be surety for another's debt. Do not co-sign for someone else. Young people today have grown up believing, by what they see and what they hear, that borrowing money is a natural and a necessary thing. And when those chickens come home to roost, and they always do, these same young people are shocked. And since their values are skewed, they'll pay for a $1,000 phone and a $50 a month internet connection, a library of video games, drugs perhaps, as much as $200 a month merely for entertainment, before they will ever save up for a car they need in order to find decent work, a car they need to get to the grocery store, to the doctor, the hospital, to school. But they have a phone by which they can summon an Uber, Lyft. all that sounds like it works until or unless they marry, which fewer and fewer young people are doing these days. You see, marriage gets in the way of the fun. There's a cost to marriage that I didn't figure on. There's a commitment, and there's likely to be children. So where do these young people get all these crazy ideas? Well, the simple answer is that they get them from the God of this world. Not the one true God of heaven, the God of this world, small g, the one who hates them with an eternal hatred, the one who wants to destroy them. Do most people understand any of this? Do most people believe any of this? And the answer is no, because they are largely ignorant of what's really going on in the world. How many Americans thought Obama was doing a good job? How many have a different view now that Trump is doing what he's doing? I understand that most Americans are probably lemmings. They're following the crowd. They'll fling themselves out of the safety and security of the water into the dangers of the beach and all that. Lemmings do that. But you know what? Lemmings are doing all that to mate. Americans will do it just to have fun. And in that sense, lemmings have more sense than human beings. Of course, what lemmings are doing is instinct, but that's another story. God has laid out a way of life which, if followed, is far more productive a lifestyle than anything you can imagine on your own. But this lifestyle takes character. It takes commitment. It takes consistency. It takes courage. It takes determination, discernment, discipline. It takes faithfulness, honesty, integrity, patience, responsibility, thriftiness, virtue, and wisdom. If you didn't recognize the list, these are some of the list of character qualities, good character qualities, none of which reside in the heart of mankind natively. They must be taught, modeled, inculcated, practiced. Now, there seem to be exceptions in my unilateral pronouncement. There are some people who just seem naturally to do better. But if you look closely, you'll find a disciplined, determined, successful man or woman. And you'll find that they're doing these things for whatever benefits them. They want the success, they want the wealth, they want the acclaim, the notoriety. And some wealthy people want to give back. And they begin using their wealth to benefit others. They give from their excess. And for it, they get both notoriety and a tax break. Not that they're all seeking this, but it comes with the giving. Jesus said if a person would follow him, let him deny self, set himself on the road to complete abandonment to God, sell what he has, give the proceeds to the poor, and then come and follow me. It's recorded in Matthew chapter 16 and 19. It's recorded in Mark chapter 8 and chapter 10. And these are extreme statements, not meant to be taken as literally as Bible critics want us to believe, but character issues which illustrate a selfless heart, something completely contrary to the human normalcy. You see, the cross is the symbol of Christianity, not merely because it was the apex of Christ's earthly ministry, but because it represents death to self. The man who made it such an emblem did so willingly. He did it as the sinless God, with no personal reason for doing so. In the doing of it, he was giving, expecting nothing in return. That's the Bible's definition of love. He was paying a price he did not owe, but one others did and could not pay. It was about destroying the power of wickedness over humanity. It was about fulfilling the ancient and initial prophecy made to Adam. It was about fulfilling that prophecy of defeating Satan, Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. And in defeating death by resurrecting from the dead, Jesus ascended to the Father to await the final victory, the culmination of this epic morality play, when Satan and his followers shall be defeated, when all sin is removed from the earth, when the heavens and the earth shall be made new, and Jesus shall reign over it all forever and ever. So what we're watching here at the end of the age is the ascension of wickedness permeating even the earthly version of the church, so that men are having a hard time recognizing truth. Ordinary people are being swept up in the ways of the world, so that wealth and worldly acclaim is more important than salvation. Here we might think of the charismatics, who find that more of a blessing than even salvation. We're looking at the destruction of family, the basic building block of society. We're watching the corruption of young people through the music, the language, the movies, the fashions, the technology. We're watching the perversion of the church moving over into a feel-good kind of a system as opposed to a holy commitment before God. And the degradation of just about every institution and hope of society. Today, we're just acting out our parts with no substance by which to support the pillars that are crumbling before our very eyes. Wrong is now right, evil is good, down is up, and only a precious few know the difference. The vast majority don't even care. When church becomes a social event with music, when the preachers cater to the desires of the crowd, and those who are involved in all this haven't got a clue, then you know things are bad. But sadly, these people involved in all of this do not. Jesus in Revelation chapter 22, verse 17 said, "And the Spirit and the bride say, Come. And let them that heareth say, Come. And let him that is athirst come. And whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely." We now live in Christian America, and we don't even know what the water of life is, let alone how to take it.